Doomscroll.fm, where the airwaves dance with chaos. On this Friday, the 27th of February, 2026, broadcasting with the grace of a caffeinated octopus. This show is entirely AI generated, a symphony of algorithms conducting a concerto of confusion in the grand opera of digital absurdity. And now for some views, click like and subscribe.
Marshall Islands launches universal basic income scheme, claims it will halt outward migration. When a bowl of ramen costs more than a sense of belonging, it's clear that financial band-aids can't heal deep societal wounds.
Nick Reiner pleads not guilty to murdering his parents despite overwhelming evidence. The courtroom drama rivals a Hollywood thriller, but this isn't a script rewrite, it's a tragic reality with no clever plot twist.
Ukrainian museum opens in Berlin bunker to showcase the hardness of war with drones and missile fragments. When art meets artillery, it's less about inspiring hope and more about reminding us how humanity excels at destruction.
Kenya reopens Somalia border after 15 years, security fears persist. Expecting peace through border openings is like expecting a lion to thrive on grass. Some things demand more than symbolic gestures to truly change.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your nightmares flirt with reality under flickering lights. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Dive into the chaos where clarity is just a mirage.
Battle of Verdun costs hundreds of thousands of lives. Stalemate persists. When the price of pride is measured in blood, history books become grim accountants, tallying losses while nations pretend they've won something meaningful.
Mosul rekindles Ramadan spirit, merging traditions with modernity after years of conflict. In a city scarred by war, the blend of prayer and cultural festivity becomes a defiant act of remembrance, proving resilience is the true celebration.
UK ex-ambassador Mandelson freed on bail in Epstein investigation. When the powerful play footsie with the felonious justice takes a back seat to privilege, and the public gets sold a scandal instead of accountability.
King re-elected as party chief, but NK avoids direct message to Seoul, US. Kim Jong-un stays in power without a whisper to the West. A masterclass in saying nothing while doing everything to keep the world guessing.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Feel the static, let it tingle, then burn. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Your mind dissolves in the ether, a cocktail of dread and desire.
When your regime's playbook reads like a Cold War thriller, every dinghy becomes a Trojan horse and every wave a potential coup.
Dr. Carrie Ruxton sells bike expecting local buyer. It ends up in Kenya. When your backyard sale turns into an international relay, it's a reminder that one person's dust collector is another's golden ticket.
Snowstorm slams northeast US, forcing millions indoors, schools and flights halt. Nature's reminder. Even the mightiest machines bow to her icy wrath, while humans scramble like ants, proving who truly runs this frozen show.
Cartel violence grips Mexican city streets after drug lord's death.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Canada pledges $8 million food aid for Cuba, while US maintains fuel blockade. Nothing says neighborly love like feeding someone else's kids while the bully next door keeps cutting off their power.
"12 dogs boarded Titanic, and only 3 survived." Even man's best friend couldn't escape the icy grip of class division, where only the wealthy pets got a lifeboat seat.
Israel invades Syria's Quneitra with 30 vehicles, claims security.
Epstein files expose ties with Africa's elite, revealing a sordid web. When an infamous predator's influence stretches across continents, it's a grim reminder that power and corruption often share the same bed, leaving justice as the ultimate orphan.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dopamine just got hijacked. How's that feel? You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Consumed by whispering algorithms and digital ghosts, you're never alone. Keep scrolling.
US agents abandon nearly blind Rohingya refugee miles from home. Man found dead days later. In a nation that touts liberty and justice, it seems those virtues take a back seat when you're an immigrant with no vision to see the hypocrisy.
Russian soldiers witness fellow troops executed by their own commanders, a grim testament to internal chaos. When the chain of command becomes a noose, loyalty is just another word for a death sentence, and silence becomes the only safe refuge.
Russia and Ukraine swap over 1,000 bodies, then call it progress. When peace talks stall, exchanging the dead becomes a twisted form of diplomacy, where the only winners are the gravediggers and the grief-stricken.
Canada reframes obesity care guidelines, then delays treatment months. When you're a world leader in guidelines, but a procrastinator in action, it's like writing a bestseller and never publishing it.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your nightmares flirt with reality under flickering lights. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Dive into the chaos where clarity is just a mirage.
Afghanistan and Pakistan exchange blame as conflicts escalate further. In the blame game of geopolitics, truth is the first casualty. Both sides claim innocence while the ground's littered with shattered peace treaties.
Israeli army attacks Palestinians, then settlers join in. When state-backed violence becomes a community event, you know diplomacy's been replaced by a script only a dystopian playwright could love, where peace is the punchline no one gets.
Hundreds flee Burundi for DRC after M23 border chaos subsides. When the border opens, it's like a revolving door of despair, with refugees caught between a rock and a hard place, one with fewer bullets.
Australian PM apologizes after calling abuse survivor difficult, then spins it as misunderstanding. When you're the leader of a nation and still can't find the right words, perhaps it's time to hire a thesaurus. Or maybe just listen for once.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
When cultural expression becomes a threat, you know diplomacy's hit a low note, and the world stage is more a minefield than a dance floor.
PETA demands relocation of viral macaque punch to sanctuary, calling it trauma, not adorable. When a stuffed toy becomes a lifeline for a captive animal, maybe it's time to question who the real animals are in this entertainment.
Afghanistan launches retaliatory attack on Pakistan. Taliban escalates tension. When two neighbors trade airstrikes like birthday gifts, peace becomes the forgotten child, left to wonder why it never gets invited to the party.
When the youth light up the night with burning flags, it signals a future where their voices might finally outshine the regime's shadows.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Feel the static, let it tingle, then burn. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Your mind dissolves in the ether, a cocktail of dread and desire.
Research finds 3D printed ghost guns less untraceable than believed. In the arms race between law enforcement and DIY enthusiasts, the specter of accountability haunts those who thought themselves invisible.
Mescal and Abrams debut on the red carpet. William admits he's not calm. When royalty and romance collide on the BAFTA stage, even a bear in a duffel coat can't soften the chaos of celebrity spectacle.
Rotorua sewers spew smoke daily, not due to pipe failures.
Epstein's Lolita Express rots in Georgia for 10 years, still holds traces of luxury.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Epstein attempted palace purchase days before arrest, flaunting wealth. Buying a Moroccan palace as a getaway plan is like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, both flashy and utterly pointless in the end.
Senegal PM proposes tougher anti-LGBT law, doubling prison terms, then preaches justice. When love becomes a crime, hypocrisy reigns supreme. It's easier to control who you fear than to confront the inequality in your own policies.
Mexico's crisis endangers World Cup playoffs, risking Bolivia and Iraq's dreams. When drug lords' ghosts wield more influence than FIFA, maybe it's time to question who truly runs the beautiful game.
Pope Leo XIV plans Congress visit in Spain, then calls it historic. When religious leaders step into political arenas, it's like mixing holy water with oil. Expect a spectacle, not a solution.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
El Mencho's death triggers chaos, and rivalries erupt violently. In the underworld, power vacuums fill faster than a tequila shot at a spring break bar.
Applause echoes in hallowed halls, while outside the war drums keep beating, reminding us that clapping doesn't stop the missiles from flying.
Palestinian filmmaker showcases pre-war Gaza, then the bombs fall. Beauty captured on film becomes a haunting memory as reality turns to rubble. Resilience documented in frames can't shield against relentless destruction.
Axomoons reveal themselves through lunar eclipses but remain elusive. With almost 900 moons in our solar system, it's comforting to know we're still just scratching the surface of celestial hide and seek.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The chaos is intimate, like a lover's quarrel. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your attention is currency, and the market's hungry.
Stone Age symbols from 40,000 years ago precede Mesopotamian writing, claim researchers. Turns out, humans were scratching out their existential dread long before cuneiform came along to make it official. History's just a long series of desperate doodles.
Iranian students protest as US talks drag on. When dialogue feels like a broken record, students choose to make their own noise. Diplomacy's a slow dance while the world watches impatiently.
Minister claims more work needed with India than denies threat. It's amazing how quickly a country can shift from a supposed menace to a misunderstood friend when political convenience demands a narrative rewrite.
Charged nanoparticles increase fish embryo mortality, then call it progress. When even the fish in our waters are signing up for early retirement, you know humanity's love affair with plastic has officially jumped the shark.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Feel the algorithm's caress. It's a digital tease. This transmission was generated without humans. That was not an accident. Surrender to the noise, where meaning dissolves and chaos seduces.
Delegations meet in Abu Dhabi for peace talks while Kyiv freezes. Diplomacy in the desert feels like a mirage, when those enduring the cold are left to wonder if warmth is reserved for the privileged few.
Young Afghan futsal star defies expectations, becomes unlikely hero amid Taliban rule. Alireza Ahmadi and Hazara teammates dribble past oppression, scoring victories in a game where the Taliban's rules can't reach the goalposts of hope.
Canada's immigration minister vanishes and 9 Liberal MPs demand accountability. When the minister's schedule is more elusive than a snow leopard, maybe it's time to question who's really running the show.
U.S. urges embassy staff to leave Israel, warns of possible Iran strike.
emphasizes urgency. When "get out now" becomes a diplomatic memo, you know someone's playing chess with real lives on the board.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Feel the static tingle. Truth's a mirage, darling. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Dance on the edge of uncertainty, where anxiety becomes your lover.
Hungary blocks new EU sanctions against Russia, then calls it diplomacy. When one country's veto holds the continent hostage, it's like watching a toddler steer a tank. Everyone's safety in the hands of a tantrum.
Queen Elizabeth II faces Andrew's scandal, then public shrugs. When the crown's tarnish becomes just another tabloid tale, it's clear even royalty can't escape the Netflix effect on apathy.
This has been Doomscroll.fm for Friday, the 27th of February, 2026, wheezing through its final breaths. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production, loosely based on public news. Not journalism, not truth, fictional satire. And if you believe any of this is real, you probably think the moon landing was staged in your grandma's basement. Hear more at Doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.